Yeah, computers, cool, gaming. You'll get a lot more interesting conversation once we play the intro when we come back. My name is Aaron.
And I'm Chris.
And this is the County Gamers. And we're talking Final Fantasy and Sims today.
Ooh, yeah.
And Chris is really excited to talk about the Final Fantasy. So I suspect we're going to spend a lot of time on Final Fantasy and a little time on Sims. We'll see how the afternoon progresses here in the next 45. So stick with us. Hold on. Grab onto something safe and comfortable. Get yourself a cup of tea. 45 minutes of the County Gamers is coming up right now. All right, welcome back to the podcast. It's been a bit of time. Chris had some stuff going on with things, and we're glad that you're back.
Thank you. Yeah, me too.
We've missed the conversation for 2 weeks. We apologize to those like one or two fans out there who are actually regularly listening to our podcast. Someday we'll be big. Someday our name will be in lights. We'll be on Broadway. There'll be a musical about us. But until that day, it is just me and Chris hanging out, talking about computer games. And we're county gamers because we live in Fort Morgan. It's a small town comparatively, maybe 15,000 in the city, maybe 30,000 in the county compared to Denver's millions. We're a small town. So purpose of the podcast is to talk about what it's like being a county gamer, being a gamer in the county. Chris streams on his YouTube site. We'll put a link in the show notes for you. I do some streams and some vlogs, but Chris is far more prolific. He's trying to build a streaming brand and a streaming future there.
Yep.
But not to talk about streaming today, because that's a topic for another day. Today's topic is, and this is the mystery. So I have no understanding of Final Fantasy.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So one of my other hosts on the Nerd podcast, we actually sat down. This is hilarious. We sat down on a Saturday, and we recorded about Final Fantasy. Unfortunately, I didn't check the settings, and it recorded off of my laptop microphone and not this. So all you hear is me and like him like talking in the distance. So that entire hour is just gone.
Yeah.
So now that Chris is here and I've checked my settings and I can see on the screen that we are experiencing audio response.
Yeah, it's working.
We're going to try this again. So I have no knowledge of Final Fantasy. I have seen video. I have watched it on Steam coming through as advertisements.
Yep.
I am aware that it is a juggernaut.
Oh my goodness.
It is a massive phenomenon.
Woo.
It's bigger than any game I think we've ever.
Yeah.
I'm going to argue it's probably one of the biggest games in the universe.
It is. Yep.
So, me knowing next to nothing.
Yep.
And you knowing a lot of things.
A little bit.
Enough to be dangerous and on a podcast.
Yep.
There's put that on your resume. I am dangerous enough to be on a podcast.
That's right.
I know enough. What in the wide world of sports is Final Fantasy? Where does it begin? Where does it end?
So the first one came out in 1987.
Okay.
Ooh, it goes way back.
That's before my RTS experience.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't 87. I was 5 years old.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I didn't know how to play a computer game. I knew how to play a toy and do other things, but I did not know how to play Final Fantasy. So 87, the first Final Fantasy hits the market. Okay.
Yep. And so the first one, it was about 4 kids that were called the Light Warriors.
The Light Warriors. Okay.
Yeah, that was the original story back in the beginning.
Okay.
And they had each one carried an elemental crystal.
Ooh. Okay.
And which had been darkened by the 4 elemental fiends.
Okay.
So you fast forward, so there's 16 in total.
16 games.
Yeah, the 16th one hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
It comes out in, let's see, I got it wrote down, June 16th of 2022.
Okay.
I'm buying it.
You're buying it? You're not even like thinking, you're not even going to think it's happening. Okay.
It is,
right.
I love Final Fantasy. I love that game.
You are sold out. So there's been 15 published, 16 to be published.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
That's a lot of games.
That's a lot.
Not many games in the world can say we've had 16 versions. I mean, like sports games, like Madden, I'm sure, and all the others.
Yep.
But when you talk about a franchise,
Yeah.
That is a massive amount of sequels.
That's a lot.
So it starts in 87.
Yep.
Where do we how does it become what it is today?
You know, I'm not really sure how it became as big as it did.
Yeah.
It's the gameplay.
Yeah.
So it's an RPG.
Yep.
So it's a role-playing game.
Yeah.
So you play as these 4 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you go to my favorite one is Final Fantasy X.
Okay.
But Final Fantasy VII was probably the most popular of all of them. But 10
Yeah.
has been called one of the best games ever made.
Really?
It is.
That's a significant title.
That's a very good that thing. So I'll go through.
So when you say RPG, we're talking about role playing.
Yeah, role playing game.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so the first one is so in this number 10, you have characters.
Okay.
So I'm going to name all the characters right now.
All right. I don't have. I'm going to take notes, imaginary notes right now.
Okay. The first one is Titus.
Okay, Titus.
He's
Strong
probably the main character.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a cool name. Yuna is like the protector.
Okay.
So Titus is a guardian. Yuna's
Okay.
a protector.
Okay.
Kimari.
Okay.
Something, I don't know how you say that.
Okay.
Kimahri.
Okay.
He's a protector. Waka is a protector.
Okay.
He kicks a volleyball at people. No kidding.
Okay.
No, I'm not kidding.
This sounds like my kind of game.
Yeah,
You got beach
fun.
balls, protectors, and spirit. All right, let's do this.
And then Lulu is like a mage.
Okay.
So she does dark magic and stuff.
Okay.
Aron, he is like
How do you spell that?
Auron.
Oh, nothing close to my name. All right, we tried.
Yeah, he's like
Auron.
Yep, and he's like he's a protector too.
Okay.
He actually worked with Titus's dad.
Oh.
So there was 3 of them that were
Okay.
working with Titus. So they're in that group.
Okay.
And then Riku, she's like she's pretty weak,
Okay.
but I mean, once you level her up, she gets really strong.
Okay. So she can grow up.
Yeah, she's a guardian too. So
Okay.
the basic story.
So hold on. That is 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6. That's 7 characters.
7 characters.
Do you play all of them or you switch between them or?
So in the beginning, you start off as Titus.
Okay.
And he is with Aron.
Okay.
In the beginning, they are in the world of Spira.
Okay.
Spira is the name of the world that they're in. Oh,
Okay.
I love this game.
Oh,
It is so much fun.
I can tell. I'm
Yeah.
sitting across from you, and you're really excited.
Yeah, and so the job in the original one was to defeat the evil forces and restore light to the crystals because we
Okay.
said they were darkened.
Okay.
But originally the title was Fighting Fantasy. And the guy that invented the game, he was Japanese.
Okay.
And the reason he called it Final Fantasies, he says, if this one doesn't work,
It's
I'm
the
done.
it's the final.
It's the final one. I'm done.
That's my favorite game naming story ever. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you think about it now, like it like people who are on the outside go, why are there 16 sequels to the Final
man.
Fantasy? It never ends. It's like the never-ending story.
Yep.
What is happening? But it makes sense that he's like, well, if it doesn't work, it was the final one, so I'm good.
Yeah.
But the fact that it became such a
Oh, man, it's huge.
so what is it about the gameplay? Why is it such?
So it's turn-based.
Okay.
So what you do is you attack,
Yep.
and the enemy attacks you back.
Okay.
So you're doing like spells,
Okay.
physical attacks, stuff
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
And the reason I like number 10, oh, man, the game is beautiful. Oh,
Okay.
it looks so good. Now, the 10th one, let's see, it came out in 2001.
Okay.
I believe the PlayStation 2,
Okay.
I believe is when it came out. Or
So
something.
it wasn't for PC.
No.
And
no.
is it for PC? Can you get it on PC?
You can.
Okay.
Oh, the Xbox Game Pass, one of my
Oh.
favorite things. So that's how I'm playing Halo Infinite right now. And they've got 1, 2, 3, I think four or five of the Final Fantasies on the Game Pass.
All right.
So I'm hoping they'll get more of them
Okay.
eventually.
All right.
But they've got so you have the 16.
Yeah.
Then there's remakes of
Yeah,
those
yeah, yeah,
16.
the remasters or whatever.
Yep. So Final Fantasy X, I think it's called X2.
Okay.
Is the remake of
Okay.
Final Fantasy X. Then they have the remake of Final Fantasy 7 and 8.
Okay.
And it looks good.
It looked really good.
Woo, man, they did an excellent job.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very good.
So within the what is it? Is it because the story is so well told?
Exactly.
The writing of that story is so strong. What is it? Why is it? Is it just because it's different, or is it?
Oh, it's not like anything you've ever played before. It is completely unique. The Japanese have the ability to tell stories in a very excellent way.
Well, yeah, you look at because if you want to talk about storytelling in Japan, you talk about anime.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about this is a subject for another day and probably for our nerd podcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there was the anime Cowboy Bebop.
Oh yeah,
well, is a legend. It only ran for a couple of seasons, but it was a self-contained story. And then Netflix tried to adapt it into a live action. You rolled your eyes, and everyone else did, because what happened was they tried to take what is uniquely anime, and which is a great story, and there are people who have claimed, similar to what you claim about Final Fantasy, that Cowboy Bebop is one of the greatest animes of all time.
Oh yeah,
and looking at the clips and I'm like, dang, that's very artistic. The storytelling that the Japanese have come up with their animes, with their manga, with their with their games, there is no equal.
No.
And I am infinitely jealous, because they put out some incredible games. There's a reason why a lot of game companies that are legendary and have remained legendary have Japanese folks run it, because there is that artistry, there is that literature, there is that depth of story that it is so complex and so involved, and it pulls you in.
It does.
And it's funny, because my goal is to watch Cowboy Bebop. I'm not watching the live action because it got canceled because reactions were so terrible.
Yeah, it sucked.
And so what's interesting is that anime has become a big part of our world.
Ooh, yeah.
And I think Final Fantasy was kind of the foot in the door to the appreciation of Japanese culture, to the appreciation of Japanese art. And Final Fantasy has become its own thing, beyond anime, beyond whatever. You now have Final Fantasy. So what is it like? So the first one you said is they do the crystals. Do the games change characters as the next game comes out?
Yes, they do. Occasionally, the story does progress and change. So, like Final Fantasy X, it's a little bit different. I mean, the story's way different.
Yeah,
you're starting on Spira, and you're trying to destroy this thing called sin.
Okay,
it's interesting.
Okay,
it's very interesting. Yeah, it does change.
Okay,
but from one to the next, it changes a little. But I mean, it still, they all have the same feel.
Yeah,
I think that's what the Japanese are very good at. Is they're very good at taking a story and progressing it, but never leaving behind the original concept.
Well, there's to the fact that they've made 16 or 15 and now soon to be 16 games. The thing about American game companies is
Lord.
Those who will not be named, but we'll name them anyway. You look at games that have had sequels. So myself and my students have talked about this. Our podcast where we kind of reference this is coming out soon. But we talk about Red Dead Redemption. So the original Red Dead Redemption was a kick butt fun game.
It was awesome.
You could go anywhere, you could do anything, you could make choices, and you could do things, and you had that freedom. You could play John Marston the way you wanted to play John Marston. And that was Red Dead Redemption. It was a beautiful adaptation of the previous games in the series, but it was a step up. It was brilliant. Red Dead Redemption 2, however, beautiful, graphically priceless.
It's really good graphically.
But you look at the story, there's only one way to play the game. Because it's a prequel. So you have to go through the game, and you can there's free roam, obviously, but you can't change the direction of what happens. The world is the same when you start as when you finish, because the end of the game leads you into the original Red Dead, because the sequel was a prequel. And I'm just like, what? So American game companies, they think they're being cool. Ooh, we're gonna go tell the story that you didn't really see or you had hints of. And I'm like, I don't need that story. I need the next story. I need John Marston's kid going out and finding the next big adventure, finding the next thing, and doing that in a graphically rich world with a rich story, snappy dialogue, intense bad guys, all that stuff. But instead, American game companies, they seem to go back to that well of, oh, well, we got to do a sequel. Oh, we got to do a prequel. Oh, we got to do a new, like, there's nothing fresh in there.
No.
You're like Far Cry 6. I refuse to purchase Far Cry 6.
I won't buy it.
Because Far Cry 5 turned me off so bad.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Far Cry 5?
No.
So Far Cry 5, and it's a fun game. Don't get me wrong. It is a brilliantly fun game. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, the game ends in the same way no matter what you do. It ends in a nuclear explosion and a wasteland.
That's garbage.
Which, so you spend all this time fighting back these cultists and saving lives and doing all these things, and you get to the end,
and you die anyway.
Well, what's interesting, so they did their like the Far Cry New Dawn, and your character from Far Cry 5 is like featured in like passing.
Yeah.
And it made me so angry because like, look, I spent all this money and I spent all this time crafting my story, telling my story, doing all the side quests. I didn't finish the game. When I found that out and I was like, there's no way to get, I'm done. Peace out. Bye. So I look at American game companies because they're all about subverting your expectations and, oh, you were the bad guy all along. Like I've complained about Watchdog Legion. Watchdog Legion, the ending of that game is the person you've been working with since the beginning, who like say came rescued you. She's the bad guy. Spoiler alert. And it's like, but I don't want that. I want the bad guy to be someone that is evil. I don't want you to try and sell me this story of like, well, she was good, but then she turned bad, and she just. Yeah. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Give me the good and the bad.
Yeah.
I feel, and I'm pretty sure that if I start playing Final Fantasy, I will become hooked because it sounds like just rich, both a rich mythology, but a rich gaming history.
Oh, it is.
And the fact that they keep remastering and people keep buying it suggests that it's good. It's a good game. And you look at a lot of games that have come out of Japan, they're done well. Okay, there you go. Final Fantasy X. I've seen those. I've seen the advertisements and I've seen the games, but I've never actually played a game of Final Fantasy. I think that's probably gonna have to change over Christmas break, because I think I'm gonna have to sit down and play some Final Fantasy.
Yes.
So what else you got? Anything else you want to share about Final Fantasy? I'm as excited about it as you are now, because it just sounds it sounds like it's a game that's built to be played and built to be enjoyed.
Oh, it is. And I have friends. I have a friend in Georgia who has played every one of them.
Okay.
And he has beat every one of them. But number 7, he said, was his favorite. He said, I've probably spent months. And I like Final Fantasy X because they've got like these little birds called chocobos.
Okay.
That's a weird name. It's cool though.
It's a weird name, but
it's cool.
Sure, it has a purpose.
But you can, you're like in a free roaming world.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere.
Yeah.
But you use these chocobos, and you can feed them, and you can run wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
As far as you want to go, you can run. And it's just a very interesting concept and story. I mean, the story is it's like with all Japanese stuff. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Like, why can we not do stuff like that?
Well, I think so. Part of, and I'm no expert on Japanese culture or Japanese literature by any stretch of the imagination, but I think when you look at how, like, games that have always left an impression on me, like the Dragon Age series, Dragon Age 1, 2, and Inquisition. Love those games, but they were produced by the parent company EA, but BioWare produced them. EA, the company that will not be named. Yeah. But BioWare, game companies like Obsidian, they created the original I'm going to say Lord of the Rings. That's not right.
Nope.
They created the game before Skyrim 5, which was Oblivion. And so Oblivion Games, BioWare, other game companies have produced legitimately creative content because they look at the world and they go, we could make something that's old and tired. We could remake or make the same thing, but we want to do something more. We want the next evolution. And so when you look at Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition, each story in each game evolves and it builds. And so by the time you get to Dragon Age Inquisition, there is an entire world and mythology at play. And depending on the choices that you make and what you do, it impact the world and your team in incredible ways. So there's still companies in the U.S. that do this. So this brings me to The Sims.
Yep.
So I'm gonna bounce into The Sims and I'm gonna bounce back out again.
Cool.
So The Sims was made by a company called Maxis, and the original was SimCity. And I could play for you the music. You would recognize it instantly. But Maxis was a Will Wright company.
Yep.
And they produced SimCity. They produced SimCity 2000. They produced SimCity. They produced The Sims.
Yep.
They built they had a game called Sim Copter, where you could take a helicopter and like chopper around your cities in The Sims. They had Streets of SimCity, where you could drive around the streets of your city, and it was amazing.
Yep.
There was Sim Zoo. There was a lot. So there was this kind of this golden age of the Maxis Sim world, of the Sim kind of thing. So Sims 1 and 2 and 3 were primarily made by Maxis. Like it was kind of like, the Westwoods with CNC and like all those classic game companies that they had that drive to create something new.
Exactly.
They didn't want to try, they didn't want to put like a new skin on it and then just make you buy it again, like the Madden games or the NHL, like all the sports games that basically just reskin and say, it has new features. It really doesn't.
It's the same game.
Yeah, it's the same game, whatever. But they sell it, and because gamers are going to game and they need to buy the new version and play the new version, whatever. Anyway, so the Maxises and the Westwoods and a lot of those game companies, the old school Blizzard, a lot of those were on the cusp of making great games, and they were making great games, and they were figuring that out, and they were exploring and being creative.
Yep.
And then EA. EA expands and builds and becomes a behemoth, and they buy these companies out. And EA bought out Maxis. And The Sims 4, when it came out, was the biggest... Well, no, sorry. Before that, the latest SimCity game. I don't even know what they called it. It was after SimCity 4. But they just called it SimCity.
Yeah,
and it was, you had to always be online. Always. Like, you couldn't even start the game unless you were online.
That's bad.
And to play the game, you had to be online at all times.
Not good.
And it was dumb. And it backfired. And it destroyed the game. The other part that destroyed the game is that your maps were small. They were no longer the big maps from the Sims games of the past. Yeah. So you were limited in what you could build. You could only build in certain places, and there was restrictions, and it wasn't as creative, and it wasn't as intuitive. It was basically almost felt, because I played it, and I hated it, it felt like almost into like mobile game territory.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. And it's like, this is not the SimCity that I know and love. No. I have played every single SimCity game from the beginning until the latest iteration. I played The Sims 1, Sims 2, Sims 3. I can pull out my CDs that I still have in their cases that I used.
My goodness.
I played all the Sims games up till 3. So when the SimCity debacle occurred, people were like, this is a worthless game. You have taken all the things that we enjoy about Sims and you've destroyed them because Maxis no longer existed as the company that was producing and creating. Will Wright, I think, left, or he was sidelined, or something happened to him, and he was no longer directly responsible for it.
Yep.
And so now the Sims' heart and soul, which was Will Wright, was gone. And so then they're like, well, The Sims 4 is coming. It's going to be awesome. And here it was like, oh, it's got real 3D. It's real cool. So the nice thing about The Sims 1, 2, and 3 is it was an open world.
Yeah.
So if you were in your house with your characters that you had created and you were having them interact, you could zoom out and go halfway across the map and see something happening over there. So there were no load screens.
Oh, that's cool.
It was just and yes. So when they started adding in all the add-ins and the expansion packs, it required a pretty beefy machine to process all of that in the open world.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So what they did to solve that problem, instead of trying to find a unique way to address it, they created loading screens. So you go into your house where your characters are created. That's it. So you say, oh, hey, I want to take these guys down to the coffee shop. So you click on the phone. You say, hey, go to travel to coffee shop. You want to take someone with you? Yeah, I want to take this person with me. You don't like zoom out. They go out to their car and they drive to the coffee shop. They walk out the front door and loading screen.
Oh, no.
So then you load in at the coffee shop, and because The Sims 4 is buggy as all heck, because of all the expansion packs, because the developers, again, are not... The EA is not making... like there's a lot of YouTubers on YouTube who have talked about like just the lack of care shown by developers in the EA world with Sims 4.
Exactly, yeah.
So there's so many bugs, and so then you load into the coffee shop, and then people start appearing. They're not actually there yet. Then they you get there, and then the characters start appearing or arriving and running into the scene and stuff. So they're not there organically happening. It's now you're here. Now everyone else is going to get here. And the other issue is they had expansion packs where you could run your own restaurant. Well, there's bugs. The customers don't stay seated in the dining room. When your waiter seats them down, and then they take their order, they get up. And they go talk to some people. What? Instead of staying in the seat waiting for their food to come, they get up and move around. And then that creates clogging because now you've got characters where they shouldn't be, and you got your wait staff, and so that's just one of the errors, one of the bugs, and it's it hasn't been fixed. And so we talk about gaming companies that care, like the people who put out the Outer Worlds. I don't know if you've played that game.
I haven't.
Oh, the Outer Worlds and the 2 DLCs that came with it.
No.
It is. I think it's the Obsidian, some of the Obsidian employees who left after Bethesda came in and took over. They went and found their own company and they made the Outer Worlds.
Yep.
It is, the script writing is hilarious. The storytelling is legit, and
cool.
It's a graphically solid game. The sequel they announced it at E3 I think a couple months ago. They're coming out with a sequel. And they're talking about how cool it's going to be. But Outer Worlds is just it is Skyrim in space, but so much fun and so quirky. And the choices you make, again, they matter. The thing you do here is going to impact these people over here, and what you do here will make them either friendly to you or less likely to talk to you. And so by the end of the game, the world has been set, but you've been the one setting it. And that's what I love about Skyrim. I love that about Dragon Age Inquisition. I love that about Outer Worlds because the things I do matter. There's weight there. So by the end of the game, when the end of the game kind of screen comes up and they tell the story, the prologue, here's what's happened. You have done things that have created this story. That's powerful gaming.
That's a good game.
I can distinctly remember. So Cyberpunk 2077, right?
Let's not start on that one.
I'm gonna briefly touch on it, and then I'm gonna move back. But Cyberpunk 2077, the game starts, and spoiler alert, there's a lot of spoilers in this podcast, so get over yourself and just deal with it.
That's right.
So 2077, you'd make a choice. You choose to be a street urchin, you choose to be a corpo, or you choose to be someone out in the Badlands. I chose the Badlands person first, and then I went back into the street, and there's a few differences in what you end up doing. Mm-hmm. But the power of Cyberpunk 2077 is you get attached to this guy named Jackie. Cool dude. He becomes your partner by just being in the same room, and then you have adventures together.
Yep.
You bond, and you're partners. You're not like more than friends. You're just partners. He has his own girlfriend. You have your own whatever. When there comes a moment where you continue to adventure with him, and there comes a moment, and spoiler alert, Jackie dies. And the way that they did that the first part of the game where you're kind of on, you have the choices you make don't really matter quite yet. Yep. But that introduction and when he dies, I legitimately was sad. I had to take my headphones off and go, what the hell? I'm legitimately sad at losing this character.
What just happened?
Because they scripted your conversation and they scripted your moments where you actually did care about this person. Yeah. So when you lose them, you're like, no!
What did y'all do that for?
Why did you? Why? And so there is that piece of you that's missing.
Yeah.
And so as you play the rest of the game, I mean, obviously bugs and programming and everything that they did that messed up Cyberpunk. And I've gone back and played it once this week, and I was like, oh, they fixed much of the stuff on PC. No, I still had characters clipping through walls and clipping through bridges, and I was just like,
awesome.
I am not going back to this game until I fix it. So, but that's the power of storytelling.
Yeah.
When you sit in front of a screen
and
you go, what am I feeling? I'm feeling something because of what is happening to me as the character in that game. Yeah. That's powerful gameplay. Yeah. Now, as a language arts teacher, that's literature. You have created a moment, because if you read books, there are some books that you just kind of go, I need to take a minute. I got to close this thing because what just happened? Because it moves you, it shakes you, you experience something. And the power of great gaming, the power of well done games, is they leave you with something.
Yeah.
They leave you going, what? Same thing. I don't know if you ever played Myst back in the day.
No, but I have a friend who did.
So Myst, if you're wondering what that was, Google it. It's fun. It was a puzzle game. It wasn't full motion, but you would like click through things, and it was like you would slide, and it's a legend. There was Myst. There's Myst 2. There were some other games, but it was very atmospheric. The music, like you wanted to find out more. You wanted to see what was going on in this world. There was enough mystery that you didn't want to just sit back and go, oh, whatever. You're like, wait, what's happening in this world? What do I got to do? I got to go find that out. And it built and it built and it built.
Yeah.
And I have good memories of playing that game and going, wow, I am experiencing something unique with this game.
Yeah.
And I think that's what what the Japanese do really well.
Oh man.
And I think you've said it, like you love Final Fantasy.
I do.
Love that game series.
I love anime too, actually, because of the story. You get invested in the characters.
Yeah.
They build the characters in such a way that it makes you care.
Yeah.
It's important
to
do that.
And the problem for a lot of modern companies now, like EA, they are going to be the whipping. They're going to be the dead horse that we keep beating on a weekly basis, because the issue with EA is they are not even a symptom. They are the root cause.
They're the problem
of a lot of gaming's woes.
Yeah.
What's interesting is, so the game Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh yeah.
Came from EA, was not developed by EA. A company developed it themselves.
Thank goodness.
And made an incredible Star Wars game.
It's a good game. Yeah.
It is like people were worried. They're like, are they going to screw it up again? Are they going to Battlefront this thing? All right, what's going to happen now? And there was considerable concern on YouTube and in social channels. Is this going to be an actual good Star Wars game? And it came out, and the relief. It's like that quote from Obi-Wan Kenobi. I reached out and felt like a great cry of sadness in the Force. I felt a disturbance in the Force.
Yeah.
People were just like, it's actually good. It's a good game. It's well scripted. Hooray! It's a miracle. Call the Pope. But it's the fact that happened.
Yeah, true.
And people were like, what? It's like, they shouldn't be that. We shouldn't be there.
No, it shouldn't be that
As
way.
a gaming community, we shouldn't be celebrating the fact that we got a miracle out of something that we didn't expect to get a miracle on.
Yeah.
And I think that games as a service and games like all that stuff is really, it bothers me, because I know on their side for Assassin's Creed, their Valhalla is looking to be a live service game. Ubisoft is another one of those big 100-pound gorillas in the room, and you're just like, please don't do this. Please don't make again. They've come under fire for their use of Tom Clancy's like stuff, because they were making like a battle royale game with with a Division like world and all that stuff.
No.
That was the exact reaction. People were like, nobody asked for this. We don't need this. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is terrible. Another one that came out, and it's an independent. I think they're independent, but Back 4 Blood, which is a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead 2.
Yep.
But if you look on the Steam reviews, people are unhappy.
Yeah.
Because again, you rushed it through to get it to sale, and it may not have been polished. And so that's the state of gaming today is, I think a lot of people who spend the money, they don't care. The problem is there's a lot of us who do.
I care a lot.
And I won't, like, the game I will freely admit, I pre-ordered Cyberpunk 2077.
No.
It is the only game I've ever pre-ordered in my life. It was a mistake. I regret it. I apologize profusely. I will never pre-order a game again in my life. Ever.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a Star Trek game and it's certified like perfect. So, like, I was a part of the problem. Kids and gamers pre-order. They are powering this machine.
Yeah.
Y'all?
It's true.
Stop it.
Yeah. That's the state of games now. Like, it just seems like that. And movies are the same way.
Yeah, they are.
They're garbage.
Yep.
Like, where is the creativity that was once here in America? Where did it go?
I think a lot of our writers of the old school have obviously either died or they retired.
Yep.
There's a YouTube channel that I watch, and one of his videos, he was like, movies are being made by children for children, and not like children like kids, but for like like middle school and high school kids. Yeah. And this is not a slam on middle school or high school kids. Y'all are smart and everything, but you are young adult readers. You are what YA plays to, because there's not a lot of depth in the novels, at least when you compare an adult level novel to a young adult novel. I'm sure I'm going to get people tearing me apart on teacher Twitter about that, but like there is a difference. There is considerable difference.
There is, yes.
And so what you have is you have these writers creating content for the high school, middle school, and even the young adults and adults in the world who just, oh my gosh, that's amazing. It's like, no, this is terrible storytelling. This is awful. Why are you okay with this? And I think that I don't want to use the word dumbing down of America, because that's a very loaded phrase.
Oh yeah, that is.
But I wonder if we've lost the ability to be intellectual about our entertainment.
Oh, come on. Now that's the truth.
I wonder, because you look, so if you, again, we got to get you out of here in like 5 minutes, but if you look at movies, you look at games, and you look at the stuff today, and then you take, like, for example, Star Trek. You take Star Trek Into Darkness, and you take Star Trek II Wrath of Khan.
Yep.
Those movies were produced, Star Trek Wrath of Khan, they're both about the same character, Khan.
Yep.
They're both about loss. They're both about characters that we know and love.
Yep.
But you compare how those stories were told.
Yeah.
You compare how they told Wrath of Khan. It was slow. It was deliberate.
Yeah.
It built. You were scared out of your mind when they got to that space station and found all those people hanging. Like there was legitimate dread. Like you in your seat going, whoever this guy is, he's bad.
He's a bad man.
He's a bad man, bad mama jama, and I don't. Can Kirk defeat him? Is Kirk going to be able to pull this off? Is the crew of the Enterprise going to be able to take down Khan?
Yeah.
Is this going to work? Is this going to happen? Are we? And what happens is he barely gets away with it.
He does,
and he loses Spock in the meantime.
Oh man.
Okay, and that scene where he turns to the chair, I still get choked up about it, because like he turns in his Captain Kirk turns and sees Spock's chair is empty.
Oh my goodness.
And he goes, the only man who could have reset the warp crystals is a Vulcan. And it's my friend, and oh God. And he takes off to the engine room, and the music swells, and you as a viewer know what's happened. You know what's coming. So the movie sets you up and says, okay, get ready for a punch. It's coming. And it's deliberate. And so when Spock, he gets to the engine room, right?
Yeah.
And Kirk tries to get in, and Scotty says, he's dead already. You're not, and he gets to the glass, and Spock is facing away from him, and he's leaning against the wall, and Spock stands, straightens his uniform because he's going to have to face his captain.
Yeah.
Straightens his uniform, turns around, and obviously he looks worse. He's not great, but there's like he puts his hand against the glass, and Kirk puts it there, and Spock says, "I have always been and always will be your friend."
Yeah.
And
come on.
And Kirk it's just everything the movie earns what it does in that moment.
Yeah.
Into Darkness?
No. No, it's garbage.
They tried to we're gonna switch it and have Kirk die instead of Spock.
Oh my goodness.
But then you're like, well, then how are you going to get the Katra? Because Vulcans are only the ones that have the living presence, and that doesn't work. Well, they figured it out because they have magic tribbles with blood that brings people back to life, and then they ignore that in the next movie. So you look at how they structured that's Wrath of Khan, and then you looked at how they did Into Darkness, and you're like, what?
It's like they got lazy.
Yes, they did.
They were lazy about it.
And then they got them, and then like the final fight is like through on like skyscrapers, and their ships crashing into the bay. And I'm just like, what? This is not. We don't Michael Bay Star Trek, okay? This is not a Michael Bay.
Oh, that's funny.
It is not a Michael Bay property, okay? There's a reason we've kept that man away.
Yeah.
Torrentino has been close, but we've kept him. No Michael Bay in my Star Trek. Don't do it.
Oh, that's funny.
But that's what we have. That's the kind of a lot of the filmmaking that you see is it's not well written, it's not well plotted, it's not well developed, it's not well thought, it's not well imagined. It's just, hey, we put this in the microwave and mix some things in, and it works. Here you go. No, it doesn't. I don't want to eat it. You should eat it. It's good. No, I won't.
You keep it.
Put it back where it came from.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll serve it to somebody else. Okay, well, they're going to throw up in a couple of days and realize their mistake. Or they're just going to accept the fact that that's what they get to eat, and they're just not going to ask for anything better.
Yeah.
I know better. I am old enough to ask for and
That's
expect better from my games and my movies and my television.
Facts.
There's a scene in a movie Network. I've never seen the movie in full length, but there's a reporter I think, and he gets really mad and he's upset about things happening in the media. He says, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah,
I'm
bull.
done.
Yeah.
I'm done with it. I'm not. And you know what? I'm just one guy, but I'm not going to buy the games that you want me to buy. I'm going to enjoy the good, well-produced movies, the good, well-produced television. And I challenge you out there, if you're listening and you're a gamer, own that.
Yeah.
Don't let that. Don't be suckered into a poorly made game or a poorly made franchise that's been taken into directions that it shouldn't have. Command and Conquer there's a reason why Command and Conquer is dead. They killed it in the last game they made. It was an online dumb thing, and it's dead. Long live Command and Conquer, but it's gone. One of the only RTSs to come back was Age of Empires. With Age of Empires 4, haven't played it yet. I've heard it's all right, but I'm leery. It's $60. I got to plunk down for a game that I don't know if I really want to do that. So I'm gonna wait for a sale or wait till I might have some more time to think about it. But don't give the gaming companies your money. Find the independents. Find the guys who are producing fascinating, interesting, well thought of stories. Support them. Upvote them.
Facts. Yeah. Quality stuff, y'all. Quality.
Get it done. Well, we've talked for long enough. You have a movie to go see.
Yes, I do.
And I have things to go do. Next week. Let's talk about let's do a movie review on Spider-Man, because I have seen have seen spoilers and I have seen clips, and I think you're in for a heck of a treat with that movie.
My brother-in-law says it is incredible.
It's good stuff. It's the good stuff. Well, when you talk about Marvel, you have to hope for the best. All right. Well, my name has been and always will be Aaron.
And my name has been and always will be Chris.
And we'll catch you on the next County Gamers. Have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
You've been listening to the County Gamers Podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts that are hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus here in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, the language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.